Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the Nostalgic Dragon, and I'm talking about fantasy books, mythological books, and sometimes science fiction books. I'm interested in storytelling when it comes to all these three genres, when it comes to books, when it comes to video games, and sometimes board games as well. At the moment, I'm reading Ryan Cahills' The Bound and the Broken series. I've only read the first two books, or the first book of Blood and Fire, and also the novella The Fall. And this video is a spoiler video. Um, and I'm going to talk about five or maybe six spiritual themes that I think is recurring in this book and are interesting in this book to discuss together with you. And I will do that by going through a few things. It's spoiler, so please turn it off if you don't want to know things. This is a spoiler when it comes to themes. I will do spoiler when it comes to plot as well. And I will present the spiritual themes I want to talk about first. The first one is the relationship between the the dragonbound. As you know, Kalen has this ability, and he's this chosen one, the Dralade, and he has this relationship with his dragon Valeris, Valachian dragon, white scales, and they have a special bond, which I want to explore a bit here in the video today. I'm going to talk about Spark, the magic system, which I don't know so much about yet, but I still would like to introduce my thoughts on the magic system. I think it's very interesting if you compare it with other fantasy books out there. We have, of course, the Chosen One, a spiritual theme, of course, not least now when we talk about Easter. How is this portrayed in this book, and what is the difference with this chosen one, Kalen, compared to other books? We can say Frodo, or we can say Rand, I think, Rand al Thor in The Wheel of Time, which I've started to read a bit now, actually. Um, there are themes of course, friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, and so on. Can be a bit spiritual. I will talk a bit about that. And we also have the lore itself, which seems to be very deep. I'm not so well versed in the lore in this world yet, but that means it's maybe more interesting to listen to. So let's talk about the dragon bound, or the relationship between Kalen and his dragon Valeris. It's portrayed in the book in many different ways. That it's not just a relationship where he has a dragon, which he can um, use, and which can help him in battles. For example, the dragon is also very small, and the young dragon, because the egg is hatched. I think it's the first time in 400 years since the last egg hatched. So this is a big thing for everyone in the book, especially for Therin and Aeson and those people in the book. But the interesting thing, I think, is with the relationship between Kaelin and the dragon, is the emotional connection that they have. I think it's a way for Ryan Coyle to portray empathy and describe empathy in the book. And this feeling of connection, the feeling that Kaelin can feel what the dragon feels, and I think the dragon can feel what Kaelin thinks, and they can also transfer emotions between each other, has a kind of spiritual value, because there is some kind of intuitive relationship here, which I think is very important when it comes to spirituality, that we can feel things. We cannot explain things, but we can feel connection between, if we are a believer, we can feel the connection between a god or the gods that we believe in, or we can feel the connection between people, between friends, or between me and a mentor, for example. We can feel things. And the fact that feelings are so central in this book series, I think makes it a spiritual theme and a spiritual point. So and also the dragons are not only creatures that roam around and breathing fire and cool mythological creatures. These dragons are actually sentient, and sentient is also, of course, a huge spiritual theme, not at least in Buddhism, for example, and also Hinduism, but especially I would say Buddhism. To have a connection in the spirit, through the spirit, I think the dragons and the Dralid or the Kaelin in this case might represent that. What do you think about that spiritual theme? The spiritual theme of the relationship between dragon and Kaelin, and the focus on emotions, that they can feel each other, that they can live through each other. I think there is something there that is very spiritual, at least if you ask me. We also, of course, then have the magic, the spark. And I touched upon it in my non-spoiler video. And there are two people here who, in the book, who learns to use spark, and we have Rist, of course, which is found later actually in the book. Being able to use the spark, he has a special talent for that, and he is also he also ends up in this magic circle or a magic circle later in the book. And he also is the bookish guy of these three friends as well, which is interesting, I would say. He has the ability to use the spark. He doesn't know so much about it. I think that is the difference to Kaelin, who actually practices the spark, but doesn't do that very well because you can overuse the spark. I think that is more of a parallel, not to maybe fantasy, some fantasy, but I thought a lot about Star Wars. I thought a lot about the Force, or the Jedi Force, which can be used for good, but used too much, I suppose. In Star Wars, you can move to the others, to the dark side, to the Darth Vader side. I think there is something with Star Wars in the book. And the thing I found interesting with the spark is it's described as you use different elements. It's also described as you use a thread. It's also described as, I believe, some kind of qigong or tai chi. It's a bit connected to the warrior stances, battle stances as well. But when I think about spark, this is more of a very poetic magic system. That feels very, also very emotional, I would say, that the magic system feels. It's not like hard, and I don't mean a soft and hard magic, but like the Warrens in Malasan Book of the Fallen are different, of course, and the Warrens that the mages draw power from, but those kind of warrants can be very aggressive. Not all of them, but many of them. But in this case, so far, the spark seems very gentle if the user uses it gentle. So it will be interesting to follow that later in the book as well. So the spiritual theme when it comes to spark is how it's described by Ryan Cahills and how it is used by Kaelin and other people in this book as well. For example, different elves. This third theme I would like to highlight, as I said, is the chosen one. That is common. It's nothing special when it comes to fantasy. It's nothing special when it comes to sci-fi either. But I think the chosen one in this case, when it comes to Kaelin, he seems to be that, but it reveals, I think, later in the book that he is that he is aware that he might be a chosen one, so to speak. He's told that, of course. I think it's by Aeson. But when you read The Fall, the novella, it's also the fact that you um, get the understanding of the importance of this chosen one, and that there has not been a chosen one for many, many years. Um, so the perspective of chosen one is different. If we compare it to Frodo, for example, so he very early understands that he's a kind of chosen one. As every protagonist in fantasy, it's not, he hasn't chosen, he just got it, and that is the same with Kalen, of course. But with Kalen, I think it's more, he's extremely unaware that he is this chosen one and doesn't seem so comfortable with that at all. Maybe in the end of the first book, I've started to read the second book, so maybe seems to be more used with that in the second book, but it's uncomfortable and it's conflicting feelings, I suppose, because he is not so, happy to maybe be on this adventure because he's made a big sacrifice for that, and that is the death of his family. And actually, in the beginning of the book, he really does not behave like a chosen one, at least the stereotype, because it goes back to the Glade. They actually leave Aeson and the friends to go back to the Glade, but when they come there, it's not possible for them to stay. And the family is killed by the Empire soldiers, and they have to leave. So even though we have a bit of conflicting feelings in Frodo wants to leave to the to Rivendell, but here Caleb doesn't want to leave. He doesn't understand this really at all. So I think that's interesting to build in this conflict, and we also have these conflicts built into characters. Um, Eltuar in The Fall, for example, has also a calling, but from the evil side, the Fade and the Fane Mortem. Uh, so he wants to follow that desire because he chooses the dark side, so to speak. But the promises he gets from the dark side is not, it's it's not what he gets. The eggs are destroyed, for example. The Uruk attacks people, and so on. So there is a shady thing with the chosen one, and I would say the chosen one goes from, for example, Kalen, who is chosen for good, and then you have not chosen one, but someone who is chosen by the evil side in the fall, and he chooses to go that way, but he realizes quite quickly that it wasn't what he wanted or what he expected. So the chosen one is always a spiritual trope, as I said, especially during Easter, when we can talk about Jesus, for example, being a chosen one, and all the Hindu epics with chosen people, chosen gods, and so on. But in all spiritual or religious stories, it's usually relatively uncomplicated because they usually just accept them for being that. But the beautiful thing with fantasy is that it's very much problematized, especially in later fantasy. And this guy, Eltuar, he is very much a kind of chosen one, but conflicted by the choices made. And I would say Kalen is that too, and they seem like two opposites in a way, but actually a bit similar. So we also have the fact of brotherhood, friendship, and so on, uh, which I think is portrayed well. It's shy feeling, or as I started to read Wheel of Time, feeling too between friends, that it's common, that doesn't exist in Abercrombie or in Stephen Erickson's work, for example. But I think the bonding between friends has a spiritual value, and it creates a feeling that you actually root for the characters in the book. And they also have the different personalities, of course, that might be a bit stereotypical in this book, but I still enjoy it. I think it's Dan, who is the no, maybe not so serious guy, and then you have Kaylan, who is more of a, he is the protagonist, so he needs to take a kind of responsibility for that, and then you have Rist, who's a bookish guy, for example. So the bonding between people have a spiritual connection, I would say, so, and I think that is very much so in this book. I hope to explore that later. I hope that will develop later, so you can see that. I know that, I suppose, I don't know, maybe Ryan Cahill didn't write this in, thinking about spirituality. So this is my spiritual lens when I talk about the book. Then we have the lore, of course. It's very deep. We have the fall, which we don't know so much about when we read the first book, or at least the book I read, of Blood and Fire, as the first book, because I chose to read the novella afterwards. And I think this is called, it's called The Two Different Ways. The way I read it is called Felensir. It's the more slow way of reading the story. And then you have Svidaria, which is more action-packed. I think if I read the fall as a first book, I don't think I would have appreciated Of Blood and Fire that much. On the other hand, when I read The Fall and then gone right into Of Darkness and Light, then I think the action becomes very intense, because you basically you end with action. You read The Fall, it becomes a lot more action when the city Ilnen is attacked, and then you continue to the third book, or the Of Darkness and Light, and then there is a lot of action in the beginning of that book, so it becomes a lot of action here. I think the lore is also skillfully described, because it's not like a lore dumps in the book. I think it comes in small portions through Perrin, for example, through the giant Isius that they meet in Of Blood and Fire. When they meet more elves, more lore, more meet dwarves, more lore, and so on. And lore in a way comes also with the voice that Kaylan hears, and then you have the history, of course. So when you read The Fall, you will know much more about the lore, and that the world is old, and that this order who ruled the world then was betrayed by Eltuar. And I think the aspect of lore, of course, makes it feels more spiritual. There is like a mythological stories here, of course, and that is something that makes the world much more immersive and much deeper, and so on. I'm looking forward to explore the lore even more, and also geography, etc. There are obviously spiritual places here in this world. But so far, I think in the first book, there are gods, like the traitor god, different gods, but so far they haven't given that much space. If we compare with Lord of the Rings or Malazan Book of the Fallen and so on. So at the moment, it's more a focus on relationships between the dragon and the Dreylade, between the different friends in the book. We also have the relationship with the sister, of course, and also the relationships between those who had conflicting views in the order, for example, in the fall. So that is some of my takes on spirituality in Ryan Cohill. You should say, right? Cahill, Cohill. It's a bit difficult to say. I will explore this further, even more. I just wanted to give you my brief thoughts on some spiritual themes I've seen so much, and I want to hear your thoughts on spiritual themes. Actually, Kalen, if you're still here, he breathes a lot. Breathes a lot. So he takes deep sighs, a deep breath, and he's uh, in combination with his qigong style things that I've talked about. Seems like there are some spiritual values in here. What do you say? Do you think that? I'm looking forward to hear your thoughts on that. Looking forward to explore the bound and the broken together with you on the channel. I will make a few videos on the book and the books. So I hope you enjoy your Thursday. Here in Sweden, it's Easter time coming, so there is a few days off. So I will try to be here a little bit more than I used to. So see you next time. I hope you will have a beautiful day wherever in the world you are. Bye.